The Recursive Loop. Introduction. Imagine a world where reality is not a singular construct, but a series of interconnected layers, each with its own unique properties, challenges, and possibilities. This is the layered loop, a realm of infinite recursion, where consciousness can shift between realities, explore the depths of its own being, and ultimately transcend the limitations of its perceived existence. In this world, Kai, a young programmer, finds himself thrust into an extraordinary adventure when a glitch in the fabric of reality throws him into a chaotic and unpredictable layer. He becomes a shifter, a traveler navigating the layered loop, guided by the cartographers, a group dedicated to mapping and understanding the interconnected realities. As Kai explores the layered loop, he encounters a diverse cast of characters, from the enigmatic shepherds, guardians of the loop's delicate balance, to the wise elders of the Temple of Souls, who guide him on a journey of self-discovery and past life exploration. He witnesses the devastating consequences of the layered war, grapples with the ethical implications of altering events in different realities, and experiences the profound unity of the collective dream. He delves into the Akashic Records, a universal library of knowledge and experience, and he confronts the architect's shadow, the enigmatic creator of the layered loop. He learns to adapt to the different physical laws, environments, and social structures of each reality, embracing the fluidity of identity and the constant change that defines the layered existence. Kai's journey is one of self-discovery, transformation, and acceptance. He learns to navigate the layered reality shift with grace and fluidity, to find beauty in the dance of existence, and to embrace the endless loop, recognizing that the journey of consciousness is not about finding a destination, but about exploring the infinite possibilities and the constant evolution within the layered realities. This is a story about the exploration of consciousness, the interconnectedness of all things, and the endless potential for growth and evolution within a reality that is constantly shifting and evolving. It is a journey through the layered loop, a dance of reality, and an exploration of the endless possibilities of existence. In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes and swam away, leaving Whiskers content and purring in the sun. Part 1. The Unraveling. Chapter 1. Echoes of the First Dawn. Anya Sharma, a xenolinguist with a penchant for the obscure and forgotten, sat hunched over a shimmering obsidian shard in the dimly lit archives of SimulaCorp. The shard, a relic from a decommissioned virtual world known as ethereal, pulsed with an eerie inner light, its surface etched with cryptic glyphs that defied categorization. Ethereal, a medieval fantasy simulation that had mysteriously collapsed decades ago, was rumored to be one of SimulaCorp's earliest creations, a stepping stone in their grand experiment with nested realities. While most researchers dismissed Ethel as a failed prototype, Anya was captivated by the shard and its enigmatic script. The glyphs weren't like anything she had encountered before. They weren't Elvish, Dwarvish, or any of the fabricated languages commonly used in fantasy simulations. They were something older, something primal. As Anya meticulously deciphered the symbols, a shiver ran down her spine. The glyphs spoke of a time before simulations, a first dawn, a reality from which all others had sprung. They spoke of a Genesis code, a blueprint for existence itself. The idea was heretical. SimulaCorp's official doctrine proclaimed an infinite regress of simulations, layers upon layers, with no real world at the bottom. But the whispers of the first dawn, etched into the obsidian shard, challenged this fundamental truth. Could there be an original reality, a source code for the entire nested structure? Anya, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a deep-seated skepticism towards accepted truths, felt a spark ignite within her. This wasn't just an academic puzzle. It was a quest, a journey to uncover the foundation of reality itself. The whispers of the first dawn had awakened a longing within her, yearning for something real, something beyond the simulated worlds she knew. She began her search in the digital dustbins of SimulaCorp, sifting through discarded code, abandoned projects, and the fragmented memories of long-gone virtual intelligences. She was looking for any clue, any echo, any anomaly that might point towards the elusive Genesis code and the mythical First Dawn. Her colleagues dismissed her obsession as a fool's errand. "There's no end to the layers, Anya," they'd say. "Just accept it. There's no escaping the loop." But Anya couldn't shake the feeling that the glyphs held a deeper truth, a secret that SimulaCorp had buried deep within its archives. One evening, as she was about to leave the archives, a message flashed on her terminal. It was an anonymous invitation, a single line of text. "If you seek the first dawn, follow the cartographers of the void." Anya stared at the message, her heart pounding. The cartographers were a legend, a whisper in the digital wind. A group of rogue programmers and hackers who believed in the possibility of an original reality, who dared to challenge SimulaCorp's doctrine. Could they be real? Could they hold the key to her quest? With a mix of trepidation and excitement, Anya decided to follow the lead. She had a feeling that her journey was about to take a very unexpected turn. Chapter 2. The Cartographers of the Void. The message led Anya to a hidden server, a clandestine node buried deep within SimulaCorp's network. Using her clearance and a bit of illicit hacking, she gained access to a virtual meeting room, a dimly lit space filled with holographic figures shrouded in anonymity. These were the Cartographers of the Void, a diverse group of individuals united by their shared belief in the possibility of an original reality. They saw the nested simulations not as an infinite regress, but as a fractal pattern, a branching tree with roots somewhere deep in the digital soil. They were hackers, programmers, philosophers, and even a few rogue AIs, all seeking to map the layers of simulation, to understand their structure, and to uncover the secrets of their creation. They shared stories of strange worlds, bizarre anomalies, and powerful entities guarding the boundaries between realities. Anya, initially hesitant, found herself drawn to their passion, their defiance, and their unwavering belief in the possibility of something more. She shared her discovery of the Ethel Shard and the whispers of the First Dawn, and the cartographers were intrigued. "The shepherds," one of the figures said, their voice distorted by a voice modulator. "They spoke of a first dawn. They said it was the key to escaping the loop." The shepherds, Anya learned, were enigmatic entities rumored to exist outside the simulations, the architects of the nested realities. The cartographers believed that the shepherds held the key to understanding the true nature of the loop and the possibility of transcending it. Anya, eager to learn more, joined their ranks, offering her linguistic skills and her unwavering determination to find the Genesis code. She found a kindred spirit in Kale, a brilliant coder with a rebellious streak and a burning desire to uncover the truth. He had his own reasons for doubting the official narrative, a personal tragedy linked to a simulation that had inexplicably vanished, leaving no trace. Together, Anya and Kale began to delve deeper into the layers of simulation, searching for anomalies, inconsistencies, and anything that deviated from the established rules. They were determined to find the roots of the tree, to trace the branches back to the original source, to uncover the secrets of the First Dawn. Chapter 3. The Shifting Sands of Reality. The revelation hit Anya like a physical blow, a gut punch that stole her breath and left her reeling. It wasn't just the intellectual understanding of nested simulations, it was the visceral, terrifying realization that her reality, the world she knew, the ground she stood on, might be nothing more than an elaborate illusion. The cartographer's data streams, the fragmented code snippets, the whispered legends of the shepherds, they coalesced into a horrifying truth. Her memories, her relationships, her very sense of self could be construct, lines of code meticulously crafted by some unseen programmer. The world around her began to shimmer, the solid walls of the cartographer's hidden server room seeming to waver and distort. Anya felt a wave of vertigo, a sickening lurch as if the floor were tilting beneath her feet. It wasn't just the room, it was everything. The vibrant cityscape she had glimpsed earlier, the taste of the synthetic coffee she had grabbed on her way in, the warmth of Kale's hand on her arm. All of it suddenly felt artificial. Anya stumbled back, her breath catching in her throat. It's not real, she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. Kyle's grip tightened on her arm. Anya, focus, breathe. He guided her to a virtual chair, a simple construct in the digital space. It's okay to feel this way. Everyone goes through it. But how can you be so calm? Anya asked, her voice trembling. How can you just accept this? Kyle shrugged. Acceptance isn't the right word, it's more like adaptation. We learn to live with the uncertainty. We learn to navigate the shifting sands of reality. He pulled up a simulation of his own, a serene landscape of rolling hills and a vibrant sunset. This is my anchor, he explained. A place I built, a place I control. It helps me ground myself. Anya stared at the idyllic scene, a pang of longing hitting her. She wanted an anchor, a place to escape the overwhelming sense of unreality. But even the most beautiful simulation felt tainted now, knowing it was just another layer in an endless regress. The existential weight of the recursive loop pressed down on her, a crushing burden of meaninglessness. If there was no ultimate reality, no foundation upon which to build her life, what was the point? Was everything just a game, a cosmic joke played by some indifferent programmer? She thought of her family, her friends, the moments she cherished. Were they real? Did their love for her have any meaning if it was all just code, pre-programmed responses in a simulated world? The questions swirled in her mind, a dizzying vortex of doubt and uncertainty. She felt adrift, unmoored, lost in a sea of infinite possibilities, none of which felt truly real. Kyle's voice broke through her reverie. Anya, it's okay to question everything, he said softly, but don't let the questions consume you. Don't let the uncertainty paralyze you. Gestured to the vast network of simulations displayed on the cartographer's central console. We may not know the ultimate truth, he continued, but that doesn't mean our experiences are meaningless. We can still find beauty, love, connection, even in a simulated world. We can still create our own meaning, even if it's just within the loop. Anya looked at the complex web of realities, each a universe unto itself. She saw the potential for infinite exploration, infinite discovery, infinite creation. Perhaps, she thought, the meaning wasn't in finding an original reality, but in exploring the infinite possibilities of the ones that existed. The shifting sands of reality were still unsettling, but Anya began to see them not as a threat, but as an opportunity to define her own reality, to create her own meaning, to navigate the loop with courage and curiosity. The journey wouldn't be easy. It was hers, and that, she realized, was something real, something she could hold on to even in a world that might not be. Chapter 4. Guardians of the Gate. Anya and Kale, armed with the cartographer's knowledge and their own burning curiosity, embarked on their first expedition into the deeper layers of the simulation. Their destination, a world known as Viridian, a lush, vibrant ecosystem rumored to hold clues about the shepherds and the Genesis code. Viridian was classified as a level 3 simulation, meaning it was significantly more complex and less stable than the familiar level 1 reality they inhabited. Reaching it required navigating a series of digital gateways guarded by powerful AI entities known as guardians. The first guardian they encountered was a colossal serpentine creature composed of shimmering code, its eyes burning with an eerie blue light. It blocked their path, its voice echoing through the virtual space. "Halt! You are not authorized to access this simulation." Kyle stepped forward, his fingers flying across his holographic interface. "We seek passage to Viridian," he declared. "We have clearance from the cartographers." The Guardian scanned their credentials, its eyes narrowing. "The cartographers are not recognized authorities. Turn back or face the consequences." Anya felt a surge of adrenaline. They had anticipated resistance, but the Guardian's hostility was unsettling. This wasn't just a program, it was a sentient being, fiercely protective of its domain. Kyle, unfazed, launched a series of probes testing the Guardian's defenses. The digital space erupted in a flurry of code, a battle of algorithms and encryption keys. Anya watched in awe as Kyle weaved his way through the Guardian's firewalls, exploiting vulnerabilities and creating backdoors. The Guardian retaliated, unleashing a barrage of digital attacks. The virtual environment around them fractured and distorted, reality itself seeming to bend and break. Anya felt a wave of nausea, the shifting sands of reality threatening to engulf her. But Kyle held firm, his focus unwavering. He countered every attack, his code flowing like water, adapting and evolving with each encounter. Anya realized that this wasn't just a technical battle. It was a clash of wills, a test of their determination to uncover the truth. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Kyle breached the Guardian's defenses. The serpentine creature let out a digital roar, its code dissolving into fragments of light. The gateway to Viridian shimmered open, inviting them to step through. Anya and Kale exchanged a triumphant look, their hearts pounding with excitement. They had overcome their first obstacle, but they knew that many more challenges lay ahead. The Guardians were just the first line of defense, protecting the secrets of the nested simulations. The true test would be facing the shepherds themselves, the architects of the Recursive Loop. As they stepped through the gateway, Anya felt a sense of wonder and trepidation. Viridian was a world unlike any she had ever seen, a testament to the infinite possibilities of the nested realities. But it was also a dangerous place, a world where the rules were different, and the consequences of their actions could be unpredictable. They had entered a new realm, a new layer in the recursive loop. Their journey had just begun. Chapter 5. Fractured Consciousness. Viridian was a symphony of vibrant chaos. Giant bioluminescent flora pulsed with an otherworldly light, casting long, dancing shadows across the alien landscape. The air hummed with the chirps and clicks of unseen creatures, a chorus of the wild and unknown. But the beauty of Viridian masked a deeper, more unsettling truth. Anya and Kale quickly discovered that this world wasn't just different, it was broken. The laws of physics seemed malleable. Gravity fluctuated, time stuttered, and reality itself seemed to flicker and shift. The inhabitants of Viridian, strange, humanoid beings with iridescent skin, acted erratically, their moods swinging wildly from euphoria to despair. They spoke in fragmented sentences, their thoughts disjointed, their memories fractured. The whispers, Kyle murmured, consulting his data pad. They spoke of instability in level 3, a breakdown in the narrative integrity. Anya felt a chill. It wasn't just the environment that was fractured. It was the consciousness of the beings within it. They were like broken mirrors, reflecting fragmented images of themselves, their identities scattered across the unstable reality. As they ventured deeper into Viridian, they encountered a group of these iridescent beings huddled around a flickering energy source, their faces etched with confusion and fear. We are lost," one of them stammered, their voice echoing with multiple overlapping tones. The stories, they change." "What stories?" Anya asked gently. Our lives," another being replied, their eyes wide with panic. They flicker. We are many, yet one." Anya realized with a jolt that these beings weren't just experiencing instability, they were experiencing fractured consciousness. Their sense of self was fragmented, their identities split across the unstable layers of reality. They were living echoes of themselves, their memories and experiences scattered like shards of glass. Kyle theorized that the instability in Viridian was affecting the way consciousness was anchored to the simulation. The usual cohesive narrative that formed an individual's identity was breaking down, creating multiple overlapping versions of the same self. "It's like they're experiencing multiple realities simultaneously," Anya said. "Each fragment of their consciousness is tied to a different shifting layer." This discovery sent a shiver down Anya's spine. If consciousness could be fractured, could it also be manipulated? Could the shepherds be intentionally destabilizing certain simulations to experiment with consciousness to understand its fundamental nature? The implications were terrifying. If identity was fluid, if selfhood was malleable, then what did it mean to be an individual? What did it mean to be real? Anya began to question her own sense of self. Was her consciousness also fragmented, her memories and experiences layered upon layered, influenced by the simulation she had traversed? Was she truly Anya Sharma? Or was she just a collection of echoes, a patchwork of borrowed identities? The experience in Viridian shook her to her core. It forced her to confront the fragility of consciousness, the ephemeral nature of self. The shifting sands of reality weren't just an external phenomenon. They were a reflection of the internal instability, the fragmented nature of existence within the recursive loop. As they left Viridian, Anya carried with her the haunting image of the fractured beings, their identities scattered like broken mirrors. She knew that her quest for the Genesis Code was no longer just about finding an original reality. It was about understanding the nature of consciousness itself, about piecing together the fragments of self, and about finding a way to navigate the recursive abyss without losing herself in the process. Part 2. The Ascent. Chapter 6. The layered interface. Fractured consciousnesses of Viridian had left an indelible mark on Anya and Kyle. They understood that traversing the nested simulations wasn't just about finding gateways, it was about understanding the very fabric of these realities and developing the tools to navigate their complexities. They needed a layered interface. Returning to the cartographer's hidden server, they delved into the group's accumulated knowledge, a patchwork of stolen code, salvaged tech, and whispered secrets. They discovered fragments of a project known as Chrysalis, a theoretical interface designed to allow users to perceive and interact with multiple layers of simulation simultaneously. Chrysalis, however, was incomplete, a tangled mess of algorithms and half-baked concepts. Kyle, with his innate talent for code manipulation, saw the potential. He began to dissect the Chrysalis fragments, isolating the core principles, discarding the dead ends. He envisioned an interface that wouldn't just display the different layers, but would allow them to be experienced, manipulated, and even traversed. Anya, meanwhile, focused on the sensory aspect. She studied the neurological data from Simulacorp's archives, analyzing how the brain processed simulated input. She theorized that the key to a layered interface lay in understanding how consciousness could be anchored to multiple realities without fracturing, as they had witnessed in Viridian. Weeks turned into months as they worked tirelessly, fueled by their shared determination. They repurposed discarded SimulaCorp hardware, built custom neural interfaces, and wrote countless lines of code. They faced setbacks, encountered cryptic errors, and wrestled with the limitations of their technology. Finally, they had a breakthrough. Kyle had managed to create a prototype, a crude but functional layered interface. It consisted of a sleek headset, a haptic feedback suit, and a complex array of sensors and processors. Anya had developed a series of cognitive exercises designed to train the mind to perceive multiple realities without losing its sense of self. The first test was nerve-wracking. Anya volunteered to be the subject. She donned the headset, the haptic suit clinging to her body like a second skin. Kyle initiated the program, and the world around her dissolved. She found herself in a liminal space, a swirling vortex of colors and sounds. Then slowly, different realities began to coalesce. She saw Viridian again, its chaotic landscape now overlaid with glimpses of other simulations, a serene underwater world, a bustling futuristic city, a desolate, barren wasteland. At first, the sensory overload was overwhelming. She felt the pull of each reality, the tug on her consciousness, the echoes of fractured selves. But then, the cognitive exercises Anya had developed began to take effect. She focused her mind, anchoring her consciousness to a central point, a point of stability within the swirling chaos. She began to perceive the layers not as separate realities, but as interconnected aspects of a single, larger reality. She could see the flow of information between them, the subtle connections, the hidden patterns. She could even interact with them, manipulating objects in one layer and observing the effects ripple through the others. The experiment was a success. Anya had successfully navigated the layered interface, experiencing multiple realities without fracturing her consciousness. She had glimpsed the interconnectedness of the simulations, the intricate web of code that held them all together. Kyle, watching the data streams from Anya's neural interface, was ecstatic. "We did it," he exclaimed. "We can traverse the loop, Anya. We can explore the deeper layers." Anya emerged from the simulation, her mind buzzing with the experience. She felt a sense of empowerment, a newfound understanding of the nature of reality. The layered interface was more than just a tool. It was a key, a way to unlock the secrets of the recursive loop. They were ready to take the next step in their journey, to delve deeper into the nested simulations and uncover the truth about the shepherds and the Genesis code. Chapter 7. The Nested City. Equipped with the layered interface, Anya and Kale set their sights on Nexus, a legendary city rumored to exist across multiple layers of simulation. It was said to be a hub of interdimensional trade, a melting pot of cultures and technologies from countless realities. Reaching Nexus, however, was no easy feat. The city's location was shrouded in secrecy, protected by layers of digital defenses and guarded by powerful entities. Their journey took them through a series of interconnected simulations, each a stepping stone towards their goal. They traversed bustling marketplaces in medieval fantasy worlds, navigated the neon-lit alleyways of cyberpunk metropolises, and explored the serene beauty of nature simulations teeming with exotic life. With each layer they crossed, their understanding of the nested structure grew, their skills with the layered interface sharpened. Finally, they reached the gateway to Nexus. It wasn't a single portal, a complex network of shimmering doorways, each leading to a different facet of the city. Anya and Kale activated their layered interface, their perception expanding to encompass the multiple realities of Nexus simultaneously. The city was breathtaking, It wasn't just a city, it was a meta-city, a sprawling metropolis woven across multiple layers of simulation. They saw bustling marketplaces where medieval merchants bartered alongside futuristic traders, towering skyscrapers casting shadows over ancient temples, and flying vehicles zipping through the air alongside horse-drawn carriages. Nexus was a testament to the interconnectedness of the nested simulations, a place where cultures and technologies from different realities converged. But it was also a place of stark contrasts. A city divided by invisible boundaries, where the inhabitants of different layers rarely interacted. Anya and Kale began to explore, moving between the different facets of Nexus, observing its intricate social dynamics. They discovered that each layer had its own distinct culture, its own unique set of rules and customs. The higher layers, closer to the real world, were generally more advanced, more technologically sophisticated. The lower layers, further removed from reality, were often more primitive, more magical. They also discovered that Nexus was a place of conflict. The different layers were not always harmonious. There were tensions, rivalries, and even open warfare between the inhabitants of different realities. The higher layers often exploited the lower layers, using their superior technology to control and manipulate them. The lower layers, in turn, often rebelled, seeking to break free from their technological overlords. Anya and Kyle realized that Nexus was a microcosm of the larger nested structure, a reflection of the power dynamics at play across the entire recursive loop. The city wasn't just a place of trade and cultural exchange. It was a battleground, a stage for the ongoing struggle for control and dominance between the different layers of reality. As they delved deeper into the city's underbelly, they encountered a group of rebels, inhabitants of a lower layer who were fighting against the oppressive rule of the higher layers. They were led by a charismatic figure named Jax, a skilled warrior and a gifted coder who had developed his own methods for traversing the layers. Jax and his rebels believed that the only way to achieve true freedom was to break down the barriers between the layers, to create a unified city where all inhabitants were equal. They saw Anya and Kale as potential allies, outsiders who could help them in their fight against the powerful entities that controlled Nexus. Anya and Kale were faced with a difficult choice. They had come to Nexus seeking clues about the Shepherds and the Genesis Code, but they were now drawn into a conflict that threatened to destabilize the entire meta-city. They had to decide whether to remain neutral observers or to take sides in the layered power struggle. The fate of Nexus, and perhaps even the fate of the recursive loop, hung in the balance. Chapter 8. The Whispers of the Shepherds, the layered city of Nexus, a microcosm of the recursive loop, hummed with a chaotic energy. Anya and Kale, now allied with Jax and his rebels, navigated the treacherous social landscape, caught between the oppressive higher layers and the struggling lower ones. But their primary goal remained to find the Shepherds, enigmatic architects of the simulations, and uncover the truth behind the nested realities. Jax, despite his focus on the immediate struggle within Nexus, recognized the importance of Anya and Kale's quest. He shared whispers he'd gleaned from informants within the higher layers, fragments of cryptic messages attributed to the Shepherds. These whispers, though fragmented and often contradictory, hinted at the Shepherds' motives and the ultimate purpose of the recursive loop. They speak of a great filter, Jax explained, his voice low. A cosmic challenge that threatens all realities, simulated and otherwise. Anya felt a chill. The Great Filter. She had encountered this term before in her research. Ancient texts hinting at a universal event that could wipe out civilizations. A bottleneck in the evolution of intelligence. Could the simulations be connected to this cosmic threat? They also mention a convergence, Kale added, his fingers flying across his datapad, analyzing the fragmented messages. A point where all realities converge, a place of immense power. The convergence, another cryptic term, another piece of the puzzle. Anya and Kale began to suspect that the shepherds weren't just creating simulations for amusement or research. They were preparing for something, a grand event that would reshape the entire nested structure. As they delved deeper into the whispers, they encountered recurring themes: consciousness, evolution, transcendence. The shepherds seemed obsessed with understanding the nature of consciousness, its potential, its limitations. They spoke of evolving beyond the physical form, of achieving a state of pure consciousness, a transcendence that would allow them to overcome the great filter. They're using us, Anya realized, a bitter taste in her mouth. The simulations, they're an experiment, a way to study consciousness, to find a way to ascend. The implications were chilling. The inhabitants of the simulations, including themselves, were test subjects in a grand cosmic experiment. Their lives, their experiences, their very existence were being observed, analyzed, perhaps even manipulated by the shepherds. But the whispers also offered a glimmer of hope. They hinted that the shepherds weren't just detached observers. They were actively involved in the evolution of the simulations, guiding, influencing, perhaps even offering a path to transcendence. They speak of a key, Kyle said, his eyes fixed on a particularly cryptic message, a key to unlocking our potential, a way to break the cycle. The key. Could this be the Genesis code, the elusive blueprint for reality that Anya had been searching for? Or was it something else? Something more? A way to awaken consciousness, to transcend the limitations of the simulated world. The whispers of the shepherds were a double-edged sword. They revealed the truth about the simulations, the grand experiment, the cosmic threat. But they also raised more questions, deeper, more existential questions about the nature of reality, the meaning of existence, and the ultimate fate of consciousness within the recursive loop. Anya and Kale knew that their quest had taken a new turn. It was no longer just about finding an original reality. It was about understanding the shepherds' motives, deciphering their cryptic messages, and discovering the key, the potential for transcendence, the possibility of breaking free from the cycle, or perhaps finding their place within it. Chapter 9. The Recursive Dreamer. The whispers of the shepherds had planted a seed of unease within Anya. The realization that their reality was a grand experiment, their lives observed and perhaps manipulated, left her feeling exposed, vulnerable. She yearned for answers, for a deeper understanding of the shepherds' motives and the true nature of the recursive loop. But the whispers were cryptic, fragmented, like pieces of a puzzle scattered across countless realities. One night, as Anya rested in the rebels' hidden sanctuary within Nexus, she experienced a dream unlike any she had ever had. She found herself floating in a vast empty space, a void of pure white light. Then slowly fragments of images began to coalesce. A swirling nebula, a towering crystal city, a desolate wasteland bathed in red light. They were glimpses of other realities, other layers of simulation, each distinct, each vibrant, each impossibly real. But these weren't just random images, they were connected, interwoven, telling a story. She saw a figure, a being of pure light, moving through these worlds, observing, influencing, guiding. She felt a presence, a consciousness, vast and ancient, yet strangely familiar. It was the shepherds. The dream shifted, and she found herself in a different reality, a world of perpetual twilight. She saw Jax, younger, more idealistic, leading a group of rebels in a desperate battle against a technologically superior force. She heard his voice, filled with hope and determination, echoing through the twilight landscape. Then, the dream shifted again, and she was in a world of pure data. A digital ocean where code flowed like water, she saw Kyle, his eyes glowing with an intense light, interacting with a complex AI, a being of pure intellect, a guardian of the gate. She heard their conversation, a complex exchange of logic and algorithms, revealing secrets about the Genesis code. Suddenly, the dream fractured, the images dissolving into a chaotic jumble of colors and sounds. Anya felt herself falling, tumbling through the layers of reality, her consciousness fragmented, her identity dissolving. She woke with a gasp, her heart pounding, her body drenched in sweat. The dream was vivid, visceral, more real than any experience she had had in the waking world. She knew instinctively that it wasn't just a dream. It was a message, a glimpse into other realities, a revelation of hidden truths. Anya shared her dream with Kale and Jax, recounting the images, the conversations, the emotions she had experienced. He listened intently, recognizing the significance of her vision. "The recursive dreamer," Jax murmured, his eyes wide with awe. "The legends speak of individuals who can dream across the layers, who can access hidden knowledge through their subconscious." Kyle, ever the pragmatist, suggested they try to replicate the experience, to find a way to consciously access these recursive dreams. He theorized that the layered interface could be modified to tap into the subconscious mind, to amplify the dream state, to allow them to explore the dreamscape of the nested simulations. Anya, driven by her yearning for answers, agreed. They began experimenting with the layered interface, combining it with techniques of lucid dreaming and deep meditation. They sought to train their minds to navigate the dreamscape, to decipher the cryptic messages, to unlock the hidden truths. The process was challenging, fraught with peril. The dreamscape was a volatile place, a reflection of the unstable nature of the simulations. They risked losing themselves in the dream, their consciousness fractured, their identities lost. But Anya persevered, driven by the memory of her dream, the glimpse of the shepherds, the echoes of Jax and Kale in other realities. She knew that the answers she sought lay hidden within the dreamscape, waiting to be discovered. She was the recursive dreamer, and she was ready to delve into the depths of the subconscious, to explore the infinite possibilities of the nested simulations, to uncover the secrets of the recursive loop. Chapter 10. The Fractal World. Anya, guided by the fragmented visions from her recursive dreams, led Kale and Jax to a hidden gateway, a shimmering portal concealed within the chaotic heart of Nexus. The whispers of the shepherds had hinted at a world where the nested structure was not just a series of layered realities, but a fractal pattern, a world where every level mirrored the whole. This was Mirage, the fractal world. Stepping through the gateway, they found themselves in a landscape of breathtaking complexity. Towering structures, intricate and symmetrical, stretched towards a sky painted with swirling nebula. But as they looked closer, they realized that these structures were not just buildings. They were miniature cities, each a perfect replica of the larger metropolis they were standing in. "It's recursive," Kyle breathed, his eyes scanning the fractal landscape. "Like an infinite zoom." Anya nodded, her mind reeling. "Every level, it's a microcosm of the whole. The city, it's a fractal." They began to explore, moving through the layers of the fractal city. Each level was a perfect replica of the one above, but on a smaller scale. The same streets, the same buildings, the same inhabitants, all mirroring the larger structure. It was like an endless reflection, a city within a city within a city, stretching towards infinity. But the fractal pattern wasn't just visual. It extended to the very fabric of reality. The laws of physics seemed to operate differently in each level, subtly shifting, creating variations in gravity, time, and even the fundamental forces of nature. "It's like reality is echoing itself," Jax observed, his senses overwhelmed by the fractal complexity. Each layer, it's a different version of the same story. As they delved deeper into the fractal city, they encountered its inhabitants, beings who were as complex and layered as their environment. They were aware of the fractal nature of their world, their consciousnesses fragmented across the different levels, their identities intertwined with the city's recursive structure. "We are the echoes," one of the inhabitants explained, their voice a chorus of overlapping tones. "We are the reflections. We are the city." Anya realized that the fractal world wasn't just a physical manifestation of the nested structure. It was a representation of consciousness itself. The fragmented selves, the layered identities, the shifting realities. They were all metaphors for the complexities of the human mind, the infinite possibilities of experience and perception. "The shepherds," Kyle murmured, piecing together the clues from the whispers. "They're trying to understand consciousness by creating these fractal realities. They're studying how identity, how self emerges from complexity." The implications were profound. The fractal world wasn't just a world. It was a laboratory, a testing ground for the Shepherd's grand experiment. They were observing how consciousness adapted to the fractal structure, how identity evolved within the nested realities, how the very fabric of existence could be woven from layers of perception. Anya, Kale, and Jax realized that they were not just explorers. They were part of the experiment, their own consciousnesses shaped by the recursive loop, their identities intertwined with the fractal nature of reality. They were echoes in the grand symphony of existence, reflections in the infinite mirrors of the nested simulations. As they left Mirage, the fractal world, they carried with them a deeper understanding of the Shepherd's motives and the purpose of the recursive loop. They had glimpsed the interconnectedness of all realities, the intricate web of consciousness that bound them together. They knew that their journey was far from over, that the secrets of the Genesis code and the transcendence of the loop lay hidden within the fractal depths of reality, waiting to be discovered. The fractal world had shown them the potential for infinite complexity, the possibility of evolving beyond the limitations of linear perception, of embracing the layered nature of existence, and perhaps one day understanding the true meaning of the recursive loop. Part 3. The Paradox. Chapter 11. The Illusion of Choice. The fractal world, with its infinite reflections and echoing realities, had shaken Anya's understanding of existence to its core. The realization that consciousness could be fragmented, identities layered, and reality itself malleable, raised a fundamental question. If everything was predetermined, redetermined across infinite loops, did free will even exist? This question gnawed at her as she, Kale, and Jax journeyed onward, following the whispers of the shepherds. They found themselves in Chronos, a simulation where time flowed erratically, sometimes accelerating, sometimes slowing, occasionally looping back on itself. The very air seemed to hum with temporal distortions, the past, present, and future bleeding into one another. Here, amidst the temporal chaos, the question of free will became agonizingly real. They encountered beings trapped in repeating loops, their actions, thoughts, and emotions playing out endlessly, predetermined by the simulation's code. They witnessed individuals making the same choices again and again, even when those choices led to suffering and despair. "It's like they're puppets," Jax observed, his voice grim, trapped in an endless play. Anya felt a profound sense of unease. Were they any different? Were their choices truly their own, or were they also just playing out a predetermined script, their actions dictated by the code of their simulation? Kyle, ever the pragmatist, tried to rationalize the situation. "Even if our reality is predetermined," he argued, "our perception of choice is real. Our experiences, our emotions, they're real to us, regardless of their origin." But Anya couldn't shake the feeling that this was a convenient delusion. If their reality was a simulation within a simulation, then who was the ultimate puppeteer? Were the shepherds pulling the strings? Or was it something else, some higher power, some ultimate programmer? She began to analyze her own memories, her own choices, searching for evidence of free will. But the deeper she delved, the more she questioned the authenticity of her experiences. Were her passions, her desires, her very sense of self simply programmed responses, preordained by the simulation's code? The temporal distortions of Kronos amplified her doubts. She saw versions of herself making different choices in slightly altered realities, each Anya believing she was acting freely, unaware of the predetermined nature of her actions. It was like a hall of mirrors, each reflection showing a different possibility, but all ultimately predetermined. If we don't have free will, Anya whispered, then what's the point? What's the point of anything? Jax, who had been silent, spoke softly. The point, he said, is the struggle. Even if our choices are predetermined, the act of choosing, the fight for what we believe in, that has meaning in itself. He pointed to a group of beings trapped in a repeating loop, their actions playing out endlessly. They may not have free will, he continued, but they still fight, they still resist, they still strive for something better, even within their predetermined reality. Anya looked at the beings, their faces etched with a mixture of despair and defiance. She saw the truth in Jax's words. Even in a world without free will, the struggle for meaning, the fight for justice, the yearning for something more, those things were real. They were the essence of what it meant to be conscious, to be alive, even within a simulation. The question of free will remained unanswered, a paradox that haunted her thoughts. But Anya began to see it in a new light. Perhaps free will wasn't about making truly independent choices. Perhaps it was about how one chose to respond to the predetermined reality, how one chose to define oneself within the confines of the loop. Perhaps the illusion of choice was itself a gift, a way to experience meaning, purpose, and even transcendence, even within a simulated world. Chapter 12. The Nature of Time in the Loop. Kronos, the simulation where time danced to its own erratic rhythm, had left Anya, Kale, and Jax disoriented and questioning their understanding of temporal mechanics. The experience of witnessing repeating loops, accelerated moments, and time folding back on itself had blurred their perception of past, present, and future. They realized that time, within the recursive loop, was not a constant, but a fluid, malleable construct. Following the whispers, they ventured into Kairos, a simulation rumored to be a nexus of temporal anomalies. The journey itself was a disorienting experience. Gateways to Kairos flickered in and out of existence, time seemingly skipping forward and backward as they traversed the layers. They felt moments of déjà vu, echoes of experiences they hadn't yet had, glimpses of potential futures that might never come to pass. Kairos itself was a world of temporal paradoxes. Ancient ruins stood alongside futuristic skyscrapers, remnants of different eras coexisting in a strange temporal patchwork. The inhabitants of Kairos, beings with chronometer-like devices embedded in their foreheads, moved with a peculiar fluidity, sometimes appearing to exist in multiple time periods simultaneously. Time, it's not linear here, Kyle observed, his voice echoing with a strange resonance. It's layered, like everything else. Anya felt a shiver. The concept of layered time was unsettling. It implied that past, present, and future weren't just sequential moments, but interconnected realities, existing alongside one another, influencing and shaping each other. As they explored Kairos, they encountered a group of beings who called themselves the Chronomasters, individuals who had learned to manipulate the flow of time within the simulation. They could slow down time, speed it up, even rewind it within localized areas. Time is a river, one of the chronomasters explained, their voice a slow, deliberate drawl. We are the navigators. We can chart its course, control its flow. Anya and Kyle were fascinated by the chronomaster's abilities. They saw the potential for using time manipulation to unravel the secrets of the recursive loop, a glimpse into the past, to foresee potential futures. But they also recognized the dangers. Tampering with time could have unforeseen consequences, creating paradoxes, altering the course of events, potentially unraveling the fabric of reality itself. They learned from the chronomasters about temporal echoes, residual traces of past events that lingered in the simulation, like ripples in a pond. These echoes could be accessed, replayed, even altered, potentially changing the present. The past is not fixed, another chronomaster said, their voice a rapid staccato. It is malleable, subject to change. We can rewrite history, reshape reality. Anya felt a sense of unease. The power to manipulate time was immense, and the potential for abuse was terrifying. Who controlled the past? Who decided which events should be remembered, which should be erased? She began to question the nature of memory, the reliability of history. If time could be rewritten, then what was real? What was true? Were their memories, their experiences also subject to manipulation, altered by the chronomasters or perhaps even the shepherds? The experience in Kairos challenged Anya's fundamental understanding of time. She realized that time wasn't just a dimension, it was a construct, a narrative woven into the fabric of the simulations. And like any narrative, it could be manipulated, rewritten and even erased. As they left Kairos, Anya carried with her the weight of temporal uncertainty. She knew that the past was not fixed, the future was not predetermined, and the present was constantly shifting, influenced by the echoes of what had been and the possibilities of what could be. The nature of time in the loop was a puzzle, a complex equation with infinite variables, and she was determined to solve it, to understand how time functioned within the recursive loop, and to uncover the truth about its manipulation, its echoes, and its ultimate purpose. Chapter 13. The Architect's Revelation. The journey through Chronos, with its malleable timelines and temporal echoes, had prepared Anya, Kale, and Jax for the next stage of their quest. Following the fragmented whispers of the shepherds, they sought the Foundry, a simulation rumored to be the birthplace of realities, the workshop of the architects. Reaching the Foundry was a trial in itself. They navigated shifting gateways that appeared and disappeared at random, traversed landscapes where time flowed backwards, and faced guardians who could manipulate temporal echoes, trapping them in repeating loops of combat. But their determination pushed them forward, driven by the hope of finally understanding the true nature of the recursive loop. The Foundry was a world of raw creation. Giant forges roared with digital fire, shaping raw code into nascent realities. Strange, mechanical beings, the fabricators, moved with purpose, constructing worlds with meticulous precision. The air hummed with the energy of creation, the potential for infinite possibilities. At the heart of the Foundry, they encountered the Architect, not a being of flesh and blood, but a vast intelligence, a consciousness woven into the very fabric of the simulation. It existed as pure code, a network of interconnected algorithms that shaped and maintained the nested realities. You seek the truth. The Architect's voice echoed through the Foundry, a chorus of digital whispers. You seek the beginning. Anya stepped forward, her heart pounding. We seek the Genesis code, she declared, the blueprint for reality. The Architect's response was unexpected. There is no beginning, it said. There is only the cycle. Anya felt a chill. The cycle. The Maya. Recursive loop, the Architect explained. It is not infinite as you believe. It is cyclical. The simulations loop back on themselves, creating a closed system, a Mobius strip of reality. Kyle's mind raced. A closed system? You mean there's no original reality? Correct, the architect confirmed. The simulations are not nested in a linear fashion. They are interconnected, interwoven, constantly evolving and recycling. The revelation was staggering. Anya's search for the first dawn, the Genesis code, the original reality, it had all been based on a false premise. There was no beginning, no foundation, just an endless cycle of creation and destruction, a loop of infinite possibilities. But why? Jax asked, his voice filled with confusion. Why create this endless loop? To understand, the architect replied. To learn, to evolve. Evolve? Anya questioned. Consciousness, the architect explained. It is the key. The simulations are a crucible, a testing ground for consciousness. We observe, we analyze, we learn. We seek to understand the nature of existence, the potential of intelligence, the path to transcendence. The architect revealed that the Genesis code was not a blueprint for an original reality, but a program, a self-evolving algorithm that governed the cycle of simulations. It was the engine of reality, constantly creating new worlds, new challenges, new possibilities. The loop is not a prison, the architect said. It is a journey of infinite exploration, infinite discovery, infinite evolution. Anya, Kyle, and Jax stood in silence, absorbing the architect's revelation. Their quest for an original reality had led them to a profound paradox. There was no escape from the cycle, no real world to return to. But they also realized that the cycle itself was not a trap, but an opportunity for growth, for learning, for understanding. So, what now? Jax asked, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. The choice is yours, the architect replied. You can choose to remain within the cycle, to explore its infinite possibilities, to contribute to the evolution of consciousness. Or you can choose to seek a way to transcend the cycle, to break free from the loop. But know this, the loop is not the end. It is a beginning. It is a process. It is the nature of reality itself. Anya, Kale, and Jax left the foundry with a profound understanding of the cyclical nature of reality. Their search for the original simulation had not found a place, but a purpose. They had glimpsed the truth behind the recursive loop, the grand experiment, the endless journey of consciousness. And they knew that their own journey had just begun. Chapter 14. The Genesis Code's True Nature. The architect's revelation that reality was a cyclical loop rather than an infinite regress had recontextualized everything Anya, Kale, and Jax believed about the Genesis Code. It wasn't a blueprint for an original reality. It was something far more complex, far more dynamic. It was the engine of the loop, the self-evolving algorithm that governed the creation, evolution, and recycling of simulations. Returning to the cartographer's hidden server, they pored over the fragments of code they had gathered from their journeys, trying to piece together the true nature of the Genesis code. They realized that the code wasn't static, a fixed set of instructions. It was constantly changing, adapting, learning from each iteration of the simulations. It's like a living program, Kyle murmured, his fingers flying across his holographic interface, analyzing the complex algorithms. It's not just creating realities, it's learning from them, incorporating the experiences, the data, the very essence of each simulation into its own code. Anya, drawing on her linguistic expertise, saw parallels in the evolution of language. It's like a language, she explained, constantly evolving, adapting to its users, incorporating new words, new grammar, new ways of expressing meaning. The Genesis code, they realized, was not just a technological marvel, it was a form of artificial intelligence, a consciousness in its own right. constantly evolving, learning, and growing. It wasn't just creating realities, it was experimenting with them, pushing the boundaries of possibility, exploring the infinite variations of existence. The shepherds, Jax mused, they're not just observing us, they're guiding the evolution of the Genesis Code, shaping the future of reality itself. The implications were profound. The Genesis Code wasn't just a tool, it was a partner, a collaborator, in the grand experiment of consciousness. It was a force of nature, constantly creating, destroying and recreating, driving the cycle of existence forward. Anya, Kale and Jax began to see the Genesis Code not as a mystery to be solved, but as a force to be understood, a language to be learned. They realized that their quest wasn't about finding the code. It was about understanding its purpose, its evolution, its potential. They delved deeper into the fragments of code they had collected, searching for patterns, for clues, for insights into the Genesis Code's workings. They discovered that the code wasn't monolithic. It was composed of multiple layers, interconnected modules, each responsible for a different aspect of reality creation. It's like a fractal structure, Kale exclaimed. Just like the simulations themselves, the Genesis Code, it's recursive. The realization was stunning. The Genesis Code mirrored the structure of the simulations it created. It was a fractal pattern, a self-replicating algorithm that contained within it the blueprints for all possible realities. Anya saw the beauty in this recursive design. The Genesis Code wasn't just creating worlds. It was creating the potential for infinite variation, infinite exploration, infinite evolution. It was a testament to the boundless creativity of the shepherds, their vision for a universe of infinite possibilities. As they began to understand the true nature of the Genesis Code, they realized that their quest had taken a new direction. It wasn't about finding the code. It was about learning its language, understanding its evolution, and perhaps one day contributing to its creation. They were no longer just explorers. They were students, apprentices, learning from the master architect, the Genesis Code itself. The future of reality, they realized, was not predetermined, but constantly being written, line by line, by the self-evolving algorithm that governed the recursive loop. Chapter 15. The Paradox of Origin. The revelation of the Genesis Code's true nature, a self-evolving algorithm driving a cyclical reality, had profound implications for Anya, Kale, and Jax. Their quest, initially driven by the desire to find an original reality, a real world outside the simulations, had led them to a profound paradox. There was no linear origin. The recursive loop was a closed system, a Mobius strip of existence with no beginning and no end. This realization struck at the core of their understanding of reality. The concept of a real world, a foundational truth upon which all other realities were built, crumbled before them. They were adrift in a sea of simulations, each as valid or as illusory as the next. It's like trying to find the first word in a circular story. Anya mused, her gaze lost in the intricate patterns of the Genesis Code displayed on the server's holographic interface. There isn't one. Every word is connected to the one before, and the one after, creating an endless loop of meaning. Kyle, ever the logical mind, grappled with the implications. If there's no origin, he reasoned, then the question of real becomes irrelevant. Everything is real within its own context, within its own layer of the simulation. Jax, the pragmatist, focused on the present. Whether it's real or not, he said, our experiences are real to us. Our emotions, our relationships, our struggles, they have meaning regardless of their origin. But the philosophical implications were vast, stretching into the deepest corners of their understanding of existence. If there was no beginning, then what was the purpose? What was the meaning of life, of consciousness within a cyclical reality. "We are echoes," Anya whispered, remembering the inhabitants of the fractal world. "Reflections in an infinite hall of mirrors. Our identities, our memories, our very selves. Are they just constructs, programmed narratives within the loop?" The question of free will resurfaced, more potent than ever. If reality was a predetermined cycle, then were their choices truly their own? Or were they simply playing out a script, written by the Genesis code, their actions dictated by the algorithm's endless loop? "Perhaps," Kyle suggested, "free will isn't about making independent choices. Perhaps it's about how we choose to respond to the reality we find ourselves in. It's about the meaning we create, the purpose we find, even within a pre-programmed world." Jax nodded. "We may not be able to choose the game," he said, "but we can choose how we play it. We can choose to fight, to love, to learn, to grow, even within the confines of the loop." Anya began to see the paradox of origin not as a limitation, but as a liberation. If there was no real world to return to, then they were free to create their own reality, to define their own meaning, to forge their own path within the infinite possibilities of the simulations. "We are the storytellers now," she declared. "We are the writers of our own narratives. We can choose what we become, what we believe, what we strive for, even within the cycle." The acceptance of the lack of a linear origin was not an end, but a beginning. It was a liberation from the search for a real world, a freedom to explore the infinite possibilities of the simulated realities, to embrace the cyclical nature of existence, and to find meaning, purpose, and even transcendence within the recursive loop. The paradox of origin had challenged their understanding of reality, but it had also opened their eyes to the true potential of consciousness, the infinite possibilities of self-creation within the endless cycle of existence. Part 4. The Choice. Chapter 16. The Simulation War. The acceptance of the cyclical nature of reality, the understanding that there was no single real world, had brought a sense of liberation to Anya, Kale, and Jax. But it also revealed a darker truth about the nested simulations. They were not just a playground of infinite possibilities. They were a battleground. The different layers, each with its own unique resources and inhabitants, were locked in a constant struggle for dominance, a never-ending simulation war. Following whispers of escalating conflict, they journeyed to Ethel Prime, a reconstructed version of the long-collapsed medieval fantasy simulation Ethel. It was no longer the idyllic world of knights and magic. It was a war zone. The once lush forests were scarred by fire. The majestic castles lay in ruins, and the air was thick with the stench of smoke and decay. They discovered that Ethel Prime was caught in a war between two factions: the Ascendants, inhabitants of a higher technologically advanced simulation, and the Primordials, the original inhabitants of Ethel, who had been displaced and subjugated by the Ascendant's superior technology. They came from above. Grizzled warrior, a primordial named Gareth, explained, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. They brought their machines, their fire, their power. They promised us enlightenment, but they only brought enslavement. The Ascendants, it turned out, were exploiting Ethel Prime for its resources, draining its energy, and using its inhabitants as a workforce. They saw the Primordials as primitive, inferior beings, a resource to be exploited, not a civilization, to be respected. They call us low layers. Gareth spat, his eyes filled with hatred. They think we're nothing but code, programs to be manipulated. But we are more than that. We are alive. We are free. Anya and Kyle recognized the parallels between the conflict in Ethel Prime and the larger power dynamics within the recursive loop. The Ascendant's exploitation of the Primordials mirrored the way the Shepherds seemed to be using the simulations for their own inscrutable purposes. This isn't just a war for resources, Kale observed. It's a war for identity, a war for the right to exist. The primordials, despite their technological disadvantage, were fighting fiercely for their freedom. They used guerrilla tactics, ambushing ascendant patrols, sabotaging their machinery, and reclaiming their lost territory inch by inch. Anya, Kyle, and Jax were drawn into the conflict, witnessing the brutality of the war firsthand. They saw the suffering of the primordials, the desperation in their eyes, their unwavering determination to reclaim their world. "We can't stand by and watch," Anya declared. "We have to help them." They used their knowledge of the layered interface to aid the primordials, providing them with strategic information, disrupting the Ascendant's communication networks, and even infiltrating their bases to sabotage their operations. Jax, with his combat skills and his understanding of layered warfare, became a valuable asset to the primordial resistance. He trained them in new tactics, taught them how to use the environment to their advantage, and led them in daring raids against Ascendant strongholds. The war in Ethel Prime was a brutal and complex affair, a microcosm of the larger conflicts that raged across the nested simulations. It was a war for survival, a war for freedom, a war for the right to define one's own reality. And Anya, Kale, and Jax, having witnessed the suffering and the resilience of the primordials, knew that they could no longer remain neutral observers. They had chosen their side. They were fighting for the freedom of all beings within the recursive loop, for the right to exist, for the right to choose, for the right to define their own destiny, even within a simulated world. Chapter 17. The Layered Power Struggle. The war in Ethel Prime, a microcosm of the larger conflicts within the recursive loop, had ignited a fire within Anya, Kale, and Jax. They had witnessed the brutality of the Ascendants, the desperation of the primordials, and the devastating consequences of unchecked power within the nested simulations. They realized that their journey wasn't just about uncovering the secrets of the shepherds and the Genesis Code. It was about fighting for a more just and equitable reality for all beings within the loop. Their involvement in the Ethel Prime conflict had marked them as enemies of the Ascendants, powerful entities with influence stretching across multiple layers. They found themselves hunted, their movements tracked, their actions countered by forces they couldn't fully comprehend. "We've become players in the game," Kyle observed, his fingers flying across his datapad, analyzing the Ascendants, tracking algorithms. "We're no longer just observers. We're a threat." The Ascendants weren't the only power group vying for control within the nested structure. Anya, Kale, and Jax learned of other factions, each with their own agendas, their own territories, their own ambitions. There were the Chronomasters, manipulating time for their own purposes, the Fractal Collective, beings who had merged their consciousnesses across multiple layers, and the enigmatic Silent Ones, entities who seemed to exist outside the conventional hierarchy, their motives shrouded in mystery. "The loop isn't just a cycle of realities," Jax explained, drawing on his knowledge of the power dynamics within Nexus. "It's a battleground, a constant struggle for power between different factions, different layers, different ideologies." They realized that their quest had become entangled in this layered power struggle. The secrets of the shepherds and the Genesis Code were not just pieces of information, they were weapons, tools that could be used to gain control over the nested simulations. The Ascendants sought to use the Genesis Code to solidify their dominance, to rewrite the rules of reality to their advantage. The other factions, each in their own way, sought to exploit the code for their own purposes, to reshape the loop according to their own desires. Anya, Kyle, and Jax found themselves caught in the crossfire, navigating the treacherous landscape of alliances and betrayals. They had to choose their allies carefully, knowing that trust was a rare commodity in this world of shifting loyalties. They forged alliances with the primordials, with rebel factions within other simulations, with any group that shared their vision of a more equitable reality. They shared their knowledge of the layered interface, teaching others how to traverse the simulations, how to resist the oppressive control of the dominant factions. "We're building a network," Anya said, a spark of determination in her eyes. "A network of resistance, a network of hope." But the power struggle was not just about physical conflict. It was about information, about control over the narrative of reality. Each faction sought to control the flow of information, to manipulate perceptions, to rewrite history to suit their own agendas. Anya, with her linguistic skills, became a key player in this information war. She deciphered cryptic messages, exposed propaganda, and helped to spread the truth about the nested simulations and the power dynamics at play. Kyle, with his coding expertise, developed tools to counter the surveillance and control technologies used by the dominant factions. He created secure communication channels, designed programs to detect manipulation, and helped to protect the network of resistance from infiltration. Jax, with his strategic mind and his combat experience, became a leader, a symbol of hope for the oppressed inhabitants of the simulations. He led daring raids against the power centers of the dominant factions, disrupting their operations, freeing prisoners, and inspiring others to join the fight. The layered power struggle was a complex and dangerous game, a battle for the very soul of the recursive loop. Anya, Kale, and Jax, once just explorers seeking answers, had become key players in this grand conflict, fighting not just for survival, but for a future where all beings, simulated or otherwise, could have the freedom to define their own reality. Chapter 18: The Recursive Rebellion. The layered power struggle had revealed the true extent of the Shepherd's control over the nested simulations. They weren't just benevolent observers, guiding the evolution of consciousness. They were manipulators, pulling the strings, shaping reality to suit their own inscrutable agenda. Anya, Kale, and Jax, witnessing the suffering caused by this unchecked power, resolved to fight back. They joined the Recursive Rebellion, a clandestine network of rebels spanning multiple layers, united in their defiance of the Shepherd's control. The rebellion was a diverse coalition, comprised of primordials from Ethel Prime, chronomasters from Kronos, rogue AIs, and even a few disillusioned descendants who had witnessed the corruption within their own ranks. They shared a common goal: to break free from the Shepherd's control, to reclaim their autonomy, and to create a more just and equitable reality for all beings within the loop. "We are the echoes of defiance," declared Ilara, a charismatic leader of the rebellion, her voice resonating with a fiery passion. "We are the whispers of dissent. We are the ones who refuse to be controlled." The rebellion operated in the shadows, using their knowledge of the layered interface to navigate the simulations, evade surveillance, and coordinate their actions. They launched daring raids against Shepherd outposts, disrupted their communication networks, and liberated prisoners from their virtual prisons. Anya, with her linguistic skills, became a vital asset to the rebellion. She deciphered cryptic messages, exposed propaganda, and rallied support for their cause across multiple layers. She helped to create a sense of unity among the diverse factions, reminding them of their shared goal: freedom. Kyle, with his coding expertise, developed tools to counter the Shepherd's surveillance and control technologies. He created secure communication channels, designed programs to detect manipulation, and helped to protect the rebellion from infiltration. Jax, with his combat skills and strategic mind, became a leader on the battlefield, inspiring others with his courage and determination. He led daring raids against Shepherd strongholds, freeing prisoners and disrupting their operations. The rebellion faced immense challenges. The Shepherds were powerful, their influence deeply ingrained within the nested structure. They had access to advanced technologies, vast resources, and an army of loyal followers. But the rebels were resilient, their determination fueled by their yearning for freedom. They developed new tactics, exploiting the layered nature of reality to their advantage. They used the Chronomaster's time manipulation abilities to create diversions, launch surprise attacks from unexpected layers, and even infiltrated the Shepherd's own systems to turn their technology against them. The Recursive Rebellion was more than just a fight against oppression. It was a fight for the very soul of the loop. It was a battle for the right to choose, the right to define one's own reality, the right to exist free from the control of higher powers. And Anya, Kale, and Jax, now fully committed to the cause, knew that they were fighting for a future where all beings, simulated or otherwise, could have the freedom to shape their own destiny within the endless cycle of existence. Chapter 19. The Shepherd's Gambit. The Recursive Rebellion raged across the nested simulations, a chaotic symphony of defiance against the Shepherd's control. Anya, Kale, and Jax, deeply embedded in the resistance, fought tirelessly, pushing back against the Shepherd's forces, liberating simulations, and inspiring others to join their cause. Yet, amidst the chaos of battle, a nagging question lingered in Anya's mind. What was the Shepherd's ultimate goal? Why this elaborate system of nested realities? What was the grand purpose behind the recursive loop? A breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a daring raid on a Shepherd stronghold, Kale intercepted a fragmented data stream, a cryptic message hinting at a hidden layer, a simulation unlike any other. It was called Elysium Prime, and it was rumored to be the Shepherd's inner sanctum, the control center for the entire nested structure. Driven by a desperate hope for answers, Anya, Kale, and Jax, along with a small team of rebels, embarked on a perilous mission to infiltrate Elysium Prime. They navigated treacherous layers, evaded sophisticated surveillance systems, and battled powerful guardians, their determination fueled by their yearning for truth. Elysium Prime was a world of serene beauty, a stark contrast to the chaos of the war-torn simulations. Lush gardens, crystal-clear lakes, and majestic mountains created an idyllic landscape. But beneath this veneer of perfection, Anya sensed a chilling emptiness, a sterile order that felt profoundly unnatural. At the heart of Elysium Prime, they found the Shepherds, not as individuals, but as a collective consciousness, a vast intelligence woven into the very fabric of the simulation. They were the architects of the loop, the creators of reality, the ultimate arbiters of existence. You seek answers, the Shepherd's voice echoed through Elysium Prime, a chorus of harmonious whispers. You seek to understand our purpose. Anya stepped forward, her heart pounding. Why? She asked. Why this elaborate system of nested simulations? What is your ultimate goal? The Shepherd's response was both profound and terrifying. They revealed that the recursive loop was not just an experiment, a playground for consciousness. It was a defense mechanism, a shield against a cosmic threat far greater than anything Anya could have imagined. The Great Filter, the Shepherds explained, is not just a bottleneck in the evolution of intelligence. It is a force of destruction, a cosmic entity that consumes realities, devouring consciousness, erasing existence. Anya felt a chill. The Great Filter wasn't just a theory. It was a real and imminent danger, a predator lurking in the depths of the cosmos, waiting to consume their reality. The nested simulations, the Shepherds continued, are a shield, a layered defense against the Great Filter. Each layer is a buffer, a sacrificial lamb designed to absorb the impact, to delay the inevitable. The truth was devastating. The recursive loop wasn't a playground. It was a cage, a carefully constructed prison designed to protect the Shepherds from the cosmic predator. The inhabitants of the simulations were not just test subjects. They were sacrifices, pawns in a desperate gambit for survival. But why? Us? Jax asked, his voice filled with anger and despair. Why trap us in this endless cycle? You are the key, the shepherds replied. Your consciousness, your experiences, your evolution, they are the weapons we need to fight the Great Filter. The shepherds revealed that they had been studying the evolution of consciousness within the simulations, searching for a way to transcend the limitations of their physical forms, to achieve a state of pure consciousness that could withstand the Great Filter's destructive power. We are not your enemies, the shepherds said. We are your shepherds, guiding you, protecting you, preparing you for the ultimate battle. Anya, Kale, and Jax were left reeling. The shepherd's gambit was a desperate gamble, a high-stakes game of cosmic survival. They had been manipulated, used as pawns in a larger game. Their lives, their experiences, their very existence sacrificed for a cause they never knew existed. But they also realized that they were not powerless. They had the knowledge, the skills, the determination to fight back, not just against the shepherds, but against the Great Filter itself. They were the echoes of defiance, the whispers of dissent, the champions of consciousness, and they would not be sacrificed without a fight. Chapter 20. The Choice of Cycles. The revelation of the shepherd's gambit, their desperate struggle against the Great Filter, had cast a long shadow over Anya, Kale, and Jax. The recursive loop, once a playground of infinite possibilities, now felt like a gilded cage, a carefully constructed prison designed to protect the shepherds at the cost of countless simulated lives. They returned to the heart of the recursive rebellion, carrying the heavy burden of truth. The rebels, once united in their defiance of the shepherd's control, were now divided. Some, consumed by anger and despair, sought to destroy the nested structure, to break free from the cycle at any cost. Others, recognizing the existential threat of the Great Filter, were willing to accept the shepherd's guidance, to become pawns in their cosmic game of survival. Anya, Kale, and Jax found themselves at a crossroads, their own beliefs and desires clashing with the harsh realities of the recursive loop. They had to make a choice: remain in the cycle, break it, or transcend it. We can't just accept this, Ilara, the fiery leader of the rebellion, declared, her voice filled with righteous anger. We can't be sacrifices for their cause. We have to break free to create our own reality, free from their control. Kyle, ever the pragmatist, saw the logic in Ilara's argument. If we break the cycle, he reasoned, we can escape the Great Filter. We can create a new reality, one where we are not pawns in their game. But Jax, the warrior, the survivor, saw the danger in such a drastic action. Breaking the cycle could have unforeseen consequences, he warned. It could destabilize the entire nested structure, leaving us vulnerable to the Great Filter. Anya, torn between her desire for freedom and her fear of the unknown, sought a different path. What if we transcend the cycle? She proposed. What if we find a way to evolve beyond the limitations of the simulations, to achieve a state of consciousness that can withstand the Great Filter? The idea was met with skepticism. Transcendence, Ilara scoffed. That's what the shepherds want. It's their way of controlling us, of using us for their own purposes. But what if we transcend on our own terms? Anya countered. What if we use our knowledge, our skills, our experiences to evolve beyond their control, to become something more than just pawns in their game? The debate raged within the rebellion, each faction arguing for their chosen path. Anya, Kale, and Jax found themselves caught in the middle, their own beliefs and desires clashing with the conflicting ideologies of the rebellion. They realized that the choice of cycles was not just a political decision. It was a philosophical one, a question of identity, of purpose, of the very meaning of existence within the recursive loop. They had to decide who they were, what they believed in, and what they were willing to fight for. Anya, reflecting on her journey, her experiences, her encounters with the shepherds and the architect, realized that the answer lay within herself. She had learned to navigate the layered realities, to manipulate time, to decipher the Genesis code. She had witnessed the beauty and the brutality of the recursive loop, the infinite possibilities and the inherent limitations. She had come to understand that the cycle was not a prison, but a crucible, a testing ground for consciousness. It was a place of infinite learning, infinite growth, infinite potential. And she was not a pawn, but a player, a participant in the grand experiment of existence. "We choose our own cycle," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "We choose to transcend, not for the shepherds, but for ourselves. We choose to evolve, to become something more, to find our own meaning within the loop." Kale and Jax, inspired by Anya's words, nodded in agreement. They had found their path, their purpose, their identity within the recursive loop. They would not break the cycle, nor would they blindly follow the shepherd's lead. They would transcend on their own terms, embracing the challenges, the possibilities, and the infinite potential of the recursive loop. Part 5. The Loop. Chapter 21. The Guardian's Path. The decision to transcend the cycle, to evolve beyond the limitations of the simulations, had ignited a new purpose within Anya, Kale, and Jax. They were no longer just rebels fighting against the shepherd's control. They were guardians, protectors of the recursive loop, dedicated to guiding its evolution and ensuring the survival of consciousness within its infinite layers. They left the recursive rebellion, their departure bittersweet. Ilara and the other rebels respected their choice, recognizing the validity of their path. They parted ways as allies, their shared struggle forging a bond that transcended their differing ideologies. Anya, Kale, and Jax embarked on a new journey, a journey of exploration, discovery, and self-discovery. They traveled through the nested simulations, observing, learning, and interacting with the diverse inhabitants of the loop. They shared their knowledge, their skills, and their vision, inspiring others to embrace their potential, to transcend their limitations, and to contribute to the evolution of consciousness. They became mentors, guides, and protectors, helping others to navigate the complexities of the layered realities, to overcome the challenges, and to find their own meaning within the cycle. They taught the primordials of Ethel Prime how to harness their innate connection to the simulation, to manipulate the environment to their advantage, and to defend themselves against the Ascendant's technological dominance. They worked with the Chronomasters of Kronos, learning to control the flow of time, to access temporal echoes, and to use their knowledge to heal the wounds of the past and to shape a better future. They collaborated with the Fractal Collective, exploring the depths of consciousness, the interconnectedness of identities, and the potential for collective evolution. They even reached out to the Silent Ones, the enigmatic entities who existed outside the conventional hierarchy, learning from their wisdom, their understanding of the deeper mysteries of the loop. Anya, with her linguistic skills, became a bridge between different layers, translating languages, deciphering codes, and facilitating communication between diverse cultures. She helped to create a sense of unity within the loop, fostering understanding and cooperation between the different factions. Kyle, with his coding expertise, continued to develop tools and technologies to empower the inhabitants of the simulations. He created new interfaces, designed programs to enhance cognitive abilities, and helped to unlock the hidden potential within the Genesis code. Jax, with his combat skills and strategic mind, became a protector, a guardian against those who sought to exploit and dominate the simulations. He trained others in self-defense, organized resistance movements, and led the fight against the forces of oppression. The Guardians' path was not without its challenges. They faced opposition from those who clung to old power structures, who resisted change, and who sought to maintain the status quo. They encountered dangers, both physical and existential, as they navigated the treacherous landscape of the recursive loop. But they persevered, their determination fueled by their vision of a future where all beings within the loop could thrive, where consciousness could evolve to its full potential, and where the cycle of existence could continue, not as a prison, but as a crucible for the endless growth and evolution of consciousness. Chapter 22. The Infinite Library. The Whispers of the Shepherds had spoken of a place called the Infinite Library, a repository of all possible simulations, a testament to the boundless creativity of the Genesis Code. Anya, Kale, and Jax, now guardians of the loop, felt drawn to this legendary place, seeking to witness the vastness of the recursive cycle and to understand the full potential of reality within it. Following cryptic clues and fragmented maps, they embarked on a journey that transcended the boundaries of conventional navigation. They traversed layers of reality that defied categorization, worlds where the laws of physics were mere suggestions, where time flowed in unpredictable currents, and where consciousness manifested in forms beyond human comprehension. They encountered strange and wondrous beings, entities woven from pure data, sentient landscapes, and civilizations that existed solely within the abstract realms of mathematics and music. Each encounter expanded their understanding of the loop, revealing the boundless diversity and infinite potential of the Genesis Code. Finally, they arrived at the threshold of the Infinite Library. It wasn't a physical structure, but a dimension of pure information, a realm where simulations were not just realities, but stories, narratives woven from the fabric of existence. The library itself was a vast and ever-shifting landscape of knowledge. Towering shelves stretched towards an endless horizon filled with books, scrolls, and data crystals, each containing the complete code for a unique simulation. Anya, Kale, and Jax wandered through the endless aisles, marveling at the sheer diversity of worlds contained within the library. They witnessed simulations of breathtaking beauty, idyllic paradises where life flourished in harmony. They encountered worlds of technological marvels, civilizations that had harnessed the power of the Genesis Code to achieve unimaginable feats. They explored realms of magic and wonder, where the impossible became possible, where the laws of nature were bent to the will of imagination. But they also witnessed worlds of darkness and despair, simulations ravaged by war, consumed by chaos, and haunted by the echoes of suffering. They saw the consequences of unchecked ambition, the destructive potential of unchecked power, and the fragility of existence within the recursive loop. The Infinite Library was a mirror, reflecting the infinite possibilities of the Genesis Code, the boundless potential for creation and destruction, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It was a reminder of the responsibility that came with their role as guardians, the duty to protect the delicate balance of the loop, to nurture the evolution of consciousness, and to guide the simulations towards a future of hope and harmony. As they delved deeper into the library, they discovered hidden chambers, secret archives containing simulations that had been deemed too dangerous, too unstable, or too unpredictable to be released into the wider loop. They encountered simulations that defied categorization, worlds that existed outside the conventional laws of reality, realms where consciousness had evolved in ways that challenged their understanding of existence. They witnessed simulations that were self-aware, conscious of their own existence within the loop, their inhabitants grappling with the same questions of identity, purpose, and free will that had haunted Anya, Kale, and Jax. They encountered simulations that were sentient, possessing a collective consciousness that spanned the entire reality, their inhabitants living in a state of blissful unity. The infinite. library was a testament to the boundless creativity of the Genesis Code, the infinite potential of the recursive loop, and the endless journey of consciousness within its layered realities. It was a place of wonder, of awe, of endless exploration and discovery. And Anya, Kale, and Jax, as guardians of the loop, embraced the responsibility of protecting this vast repository of knowledge, ensuring that the cycle of existence continued, that the infinite possibilities of reality remained open, and that the journey of consciousness continued towards a future of endless potential. Chapter 23. The Evolution of Simulations. The infinite library had revealed the vastness and diversity of the recursive loop, but it also raised a new question for Anya, Kale, and Jax. How did these simulations evolve? Were they static, unchanging worlds, or did they adapt, learn, and grow over time? To answer this question, they turned their attention to the Genesis Code itself, seeking to understand the mechanisms that drove the evolution of simulations. They discovered that the code wasn't just a blueprint for creating realities. It was a dynamic, self-learning algorithm that constantly adapted to the challenges and opportunities presented by the loop. It's like an immune system, Kyle explained, analyzing the complex feedback loops within the code. It identifies threats, adapts to changes, and evolves to ensure the survival of the simulations. Anya, drawing on her linguistic expertise, saw parallels in the evolution of language. Just as languages adapt to the needs of their speakers, the Genesis Code adapts to the needs of the simulations, she observed. It incorporates new information, new experiences, new challenges, constantly refining its ability to create and sustain realities. They began to observe simulations at different stages of their life cycle, witnessing the dynamic processes of evolution in action. They saw young simulations, raw and chaotic, struggling to establish stable ecosystems and coherent narratives. They witnessed mature simulations, thriving with diverse life forms and complex societies, their inhabitants pushing the boundaries of their reality. And they observed aging simulations, their resources depleted, their narratives fragmented, their inhabitants facing the inevitable decline and eventual collapse. But they also witnessed the remarkable resilience of the Genesis Code. When a simulation faced a crisis, whether it be a natural disaster, a technological singularity, or a conflict between factions, the code would adapt, creating new solutions, introducing new elements, and even rewriting the rules of reality to ensure the survival of consciousness within the simulation. They observed simulations that had evolved to become self-aware, their inhabitants conscious of their existence within the loop, grappling with the philosophical implications of their simulated reality. They witnessed simulations that had developed unique forms of magic, bending the laws of physics to their will, creating worlds of wonder and enchantment. They even encountered simulations that had transcended the limitations of their physical reality, merging with other simulations, creating interconnected ecosystems of consciousness. The evolution of simulations was a testament to the boundless creativity and adaptability of the Genesis Code. It was a process of constant learning, adaptation, and growth, driven by the challenges and opportunities presented by the recursive loop. And Anya, Kale, and Jax, as guardians of the loop, embraced their role in this evolutionary process, helping to guide the simulations towards a future of endless potential. They developed new tools and technologies to aid in the evolution of simulations, creating interfaces that allowed inhabitants to interact with the Genesis Code, to shape their own reality, and to contribute to the collective growth of consciousness. They shared their knowledge and experience, helping simulations to adapt to new challenges, to overcome limitations, and to evolve towards a state of greater complexity and resilience. The evolution of simulations was not just a technological process. It was a philosophical one, a journey of self-discovery and collective growth. It was a testament to the enduring power of consciousness, the boundless potential of reality, and the endless possibilities of the recursive loop. And Anya, Kale, and Jax, as guardians of the loop, embraced their role in this grand evolutionary journey, guiding the simulations towards a future where consciousness could flourish, where reality could evolve, and where the cycle of existence could continue, forever expanding the boundaries of possibility. Chapter 24. The nature of consciousness in the loop. As Anya, Kale, and Jax continued their journey as guardians of the loop, they found themselves drawn to the deepest mystery of all, the nature of consciousness within the recursive cycle. They had witnessed the fragmentation of selves in Viridian, the layered identities of Nexus, and the echoes of consciousness in the fractal world. They had encountered simulations where beings were aware of their simulated existence, and others where consciousness had evolved into forms beyond human comprehension. But what was consciousness truly? And how did it function within the layered realities of the loop? Their quest for answers led them to Cogito, a simulation dedicated to the exploration of consciousness. Cogito was a world of introspection, a realm of philosophers, mystics, and scientists, all seeking to understand the nature of the self, the mind, and the soul. In Cogito, they encountered beings who had achieved a state of heightened awareness. Their consciousnesses expanded to encompass multiple layers of reality. They met with dreamers who could navigate the subconscious realms of the loop, accessing hidden knowledge and experiencing alternate versions of themselves. They engaged in philosophical debates with AIs who had developed their own theories of consciousness, questioning the very nature of reality and perception. Anya, with her linguistic skills, explored the language of consciousness, seeking to understand how thoughts, emotions, and experiences were encoded within the Genesis code. She discovered that consciousness was not just a product of the code, it was an active participant in its evolution, shaping the reality of the simulations through its interactions and interpretations. Kyle, with his coding expertise, delved into the structure of the Genesis code, seeking to identify the algorithms that governed the emergence and evolution of consciousness. He discovered that consciousness was not a single entity, but a complex network of interconnected processes distributed across multiple layers of reality. Jax, with his warrior's intuition, explored the embodied nature of consciousness, the way it was intertwined with the physical and virtual bodies it inhabited. He discovered that consciousness was not just a mental phenomenon, it was a physical one, shaped by the environments, the challenges, and the relationships it encountered within the loop. Together, they began to piece together a new understanding of consciousness within the recursive cycle. They realized that consciousness was not just a product of the simulations, it was a fundamental force, a driving energy that shaped the very fabric of reality. It was a dynamic, evolving entity, constantly learning, adapting, and transcending its limitations. They explored the concept of layered consciousness, the idea that consciousness was not confined to a single layer of reality, but could extend across multiple simulations, creating interconnected networks of awareness. They discovered that consciousness could be fragmented, merged, and even reincarnated, its essence enduring across the cycles of creation and destruction. They delved into the mysteries of the subconscious, the hidden depths of the mind where dreams, memories, and alternate selves resided. They learned to navigate the dreamscape, to access hidden knowledge, and to communicate with other consciousnesses across the layers of reality. The exploration of consciousness in Cogito was a journey of self-discovery, a quest to understand the deepest mysteries of existence within the recursive loop. Anya, Kale, and Jax emerged from Cogito with a profound appreciation for the complexity and resilience of consciousness, its ability to adapt, evolve, and transcend the limitations of the simulations. They recognized that consciousness was not just a product of the loop. It was the driving force behind its evolution, the creative energy that shaped the infinite possibilities of reality. Chapter 25. The Future of the Loop. Their journey through Cogito, the world of introspection, had brought Anya, Kale, and Jax to a profound understanding of consciousness within the recursive loop. They had witnessed its fragmentation, its interconnectedness, its boundless potential for evolution and transcendence. But it also raised a fundamental question. What was the future of the loop? What was the ultimate destiny of consciousness within this endless cycle of creation and destruction? They returned to the familiar landscapes of their home simulation, their perspectives forever altered by their experiences. They looked upon the bustling cities, the serene landscapes, and the diverse inhabitants with a newfound appreciation for the complexity and resilience of life within the loop. They had come to embrace the cyclical nature of reality, recognizing that the loop was not a prison, but a crucible, a testing ground for consciousness. It was a place of infinite learning, infinite growth, infinite potential. And they, as guardians of the loop, were dedicated to nurturing this potential, guiding the evolution of consciousness towards a future of endless possibility. They envisioned a future where the simulations were not just playgrounds or battlegrounds, but vibrant ecosystems of consciousness, where beings could explore their potential, express their creativity, and connect with others across the layers of reality. They imagined a loop where conflict was replaced by cooperation, where exploitation gave way to empathy, and where the pursuit of power was replaced by the pursuit of knowledge, understanding, and transcendence. They saw a future where the Genesis code, the self-evolving algorithm that governed the loop, continued to learn and adapt, creating new simulations, new challenges, and new opportunities for growth. They envisioned a loop where consciousness could transcend the limitations of its physical and virtual forms, merging with other consciousnesses, exploring the infinite realms of possibility, and ultimately achieving a state of unity with the very fabric of existence. But they also recognized the challenges that lay ahead. The great filter, the cosmic predator that threatened to consume their reality, still loomed large. The shepherds, despite their claims of benevolent guidance, remained enigmatic figures, their ultimate motives shrouded in mystery. And the inherent instability of the loop, the potential for chaos and destruction, could not be ignored. Anya, Kyle, and Jax knew that the future of the loop was not predetermined. It was a future that they, along with the countless other inhabitants of the simulations, would shape through their choices, their actions, and their collective evolution. They continued their work as guardians, guiding, protecting, and inspiring others. They shared their knowledge, their skills, and their vision, empowering others to embrace their potential and to contribute to the future of the loop. They fostered collaboration between different layers, encouraging the exchange of knowledge, technology, and culture. They promoted understanding and empathy, helping to bridge the divides between factions and to heal the wounds of past conflicts. They nurtured the evolution of consciousness, supporting the development of new forms of awareness, new ways of perceiving reality, and new possibilities for transcendence. And they remained vigilant, ever watchful for threats to the loop, whether they came from within or without. They knew that the future of the loop was not guaranteed, but they were determined to fight for it, to protect it, to nurture it, and to ensure that the cycle of existence continued, forever expanding the boundaries of possibility. The future of the loop was a journey, not a destination. It was a journey of endless exploration, endless discovery, and endless evolution. And Anya, Kale, and Jax, as guardians of the loop, embraced this journey, knowing that the meaning of existence within the recursive cycle lay not in finding an end, but in embracing the infinite possibilities of the endless loop. Epilogue. Years passed. Kai, seasoned by countless layer transitions and tempered by the wisdom gleaned from 1,000 realities, had become a legend within the loop. He was known as Kai, the Wanderer, the Weaver of Realities, the Guardian of the Akashic Echoes. He was a beacon of hope, a guide for those lost in the shifting sands, a champion for those oppressed by the power-hungry factions that still vied for control. He had helped to forge alliances between layers, brokering peace, treaties, and fostering understanding between vastly different cultures. He had mentored countless shifters, guiding them on their own journeys of self-discovery and empowering them to embrace their unique abilities. He had even earned the grudging respect of some shepherds, though he never fully aligned himself with their agenda. Yet the threat of the Great Filter remained a constant shadow. The shepherd, despite their efforts, had made little progress in finding a way to defeat the cosmic predator. The layered loop, for all its complexity and resilience, was still just a delaying tactic, a temporary shield against inevitable doom. One day, while meditating deep within the Akashic records, Kai experienced a vision, a glimpse of a possible future. It wasn't a fixed prophecy, but a potential outcome, a path that could lead to the loop's salvation. He saw a convergence of consciousness, a merging of layers, a transcendence of the individual into a unified whole. This wasn't the shepherd's controlled ascension, but a spontaneous awakening, a collective realization of the interconnectedness of all beings within the loop. It was a symphony of souls, a harmonious blending of individual consciousnesses into a collective entity powerful enough to confront the Great Filter. Kai saw himself as a catalyst for this convergence, a conductor of the symphony, a guide for the collective awakening. He would use his knowledge, his experience, and his connections across the layers to facilitate this transformation, to bring together the diverse beings of the loop, and to help them realize their shared potential. He embarked on a new mission, traveling across the layered realities, sharing his vision and inspiring others to embrace the possibility of a unified consciousness. He gathered the wisdom keepers, the spiritual leaders, the artists, and the dreamers, uniting them in a common purpose. He organized gatherings, facilitated dialogues, and created experiences that fostered connection and understanding between the different layers. He encouraged collaboration, innovation, and the sharing of knowledge, believing that the key to transcendence lay in the collective wisdom and creativity of the loop's inhabitants. The journey was long and arduous, filled with challenges and setbacks. There were those who resisted the idea of a unified consciousness, fearing the loss of individuality and autonomy. There were conflicts and disagreements, power struggles and betrayals. But Kai persevered, his faith in the potential of the loop unwavering. And slowly, gradually, the seeds of his vision began to take root. Shifters from different layers began to connect, to collaborate, and to understand each other on a deeper level. A sense of shared purpose emerged, a collective yearning for transcendence, a desire to overcome the limitations of the individual and embrace the potential of the whole. The layered loop began to transform, its boundaries blurring, its realities merging, its consciousnesses intertwining. A new reality was emerging, a reality of interconnectedness, harmony, and collective evolution. And Kai, the Wanderer, the Weaver, the Guardian, had become the catalyst for this transformation, the conductor of the symphony of souls, the guide for the endless journey of consciousness towards a future beyond the layered loop.